strap yourselves in. This is gonna be a long one. Okay, I want to get something out of the way right away. I never, not in a million years, expected to review a Pokémon game. It's one of only 2 Nintendo franchises that I never really paid any attention to, the second of which being Kirby, but I've since gone back and played through quite a bit of those games and have actually enjoyed them for what they are. Pokémon though, it was the one holdout. I felt that it was a child's game that just wasn't worth the hype and attention it received. So imagine my surprise as I sit here recording this very review. Project COE's longtime Pokémon supporter and personal friend of mine, Steven, even bought me several Pokémon games over the years in hopes of me changing my wicked ways and attempting to really give the series a chance, but it just never worked. It's amazing how times change though, and what's even more amazing is just how impressed I was with Pokémon Yellow. To say I caught the Pokebug would be an understatement. I absolutely became obsessed. I purchased Pokémon Blue on my original 3DS just so I could perform the Mew glitch. I then traded him to my copy of Yellow on my new 3DS, and away I went. My goal now is to complete the Pokédex of all 151 Pokémon. Yep, that's obsession right there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I wasn't just satisfied with playing through Yellow either. Oh no! I really wanted to ensure I had experienced everything before I jumped into this review. So here I am, 36 hours into the adventure, having finished the game, and now sitting with 114 Pokémon in my Pokédex. I think I'm ready to let you all know what I think of this certified classic from 1999. Having never experienced the game before, never played Red nor Blue, and all around ignored the franchise, I had quite low expectations of Pokémon Yellow. The audio-visual presentation is incredibly simple by today's lush, almost painting-like 2D visuals we see on modern consoles, and clearly isn't anything nearly as stunning as the modern 3D visuals, but there's something charming about their simplicity. I particularly like the pixel art each Pokémon has when they're in their battle poses. The audio also features a lot of fantastic and catchy tunes that stick in your head long after you shut off the game. So let's talk about the game. It opens up with a rather simple line, "Welcome to the world of Pokémon," and that's absolutely right. Welcome to the wonderful world of Pokémon indeed. From there you're introduced to your rival, who I aptly named Steven, after Project COE's famous Poke Nutcase. After that I got my hands on my very first Pokémon, Pikachu, and from what I witnessed afterwards, this version was unlike Red and Blue, which were released a year earlier, as those versions allowed you to select from one of 3 different Pokémon. There were a few other changes here and there to make the game follow the then extremely popular cartoon series, which is also why Pikachu follows you through the entire adventure, but that actually leads to one of the game's biggest problems. You see, because this game follows the cartoon, Pikachu doesn't want to evolve, which means the only way to get a Raichu, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, is to trade, which is kind of unfortunate and becomes a bit annoying towards the end of the game when all your other pokes have evolved. Okay, I'm getting really ahead of myself, so let's go back. So since I'm reviewing this from a newbie standpoint, I'm going to explain just how the game works and my impressions of it. So once you get your hands on Pikachu, you're off to defeat 8 gym leaders and then face off against the Elite Four to become the region's reigning Pokémon champion. That's pretty much exactly what you're trying to do. Professor Oak, the nice guy that gave you the Pikachu, also wants you to complete the Pokédex, which means you'll have to own, at least once, every single Pokémon in the entire game. But there's a catch. You can only catch a certain number of Pokes in Yellow. The rest have to be collected in Red and Blue, which means you're forced to trade. Now thankfully Nintendo added wireless features to this virtual console port, so you can trade and challenge Pokemon with your friends locally. There's no online support here, as Nintendo was trying to mimic the feel of the original games. You can't use restore points either, which personally I thought was a great move on Nintendo's part because it makes the games feel just as they would have on the original Game Boy. And since I have all of 0 friends that play Pokémon, I'm forced to play the other versions of the game myself and trade amongst my 2 different 3DS systems. That's not the only addition though that Nintendo made to the game. Pokémon Red, Blue, and Yellow will eventually be made compatible with the Pokémon Bank, meaning you'll all be able to transfer your Pokémon that you collect in these versions to the newly announced, at least at the time of this recording, Pokémon Sun and Moon. So how exactly does the core game work? Well, as you venture forth from one village to the next, you have to traverse the wide open world, or pass through lengthy caves to reach the next gym, and therefore the next gym leader in hopes of defeating them and obtaining a badge to prove your greatness. So along the way, you'll see grass swaying to and fro, and if you walk on the grass, you can trigger a random encounter. If you happen to pop into a cave, random encounters happen pretty much everywhere, and let me tell you, the encounter rate can be a little bit high in some of those caves. Thankfully, there are repels you can buy at Pokemarts which prevent you from having to partake in random encounters whatsoever, which was a really great touch. There are also what appear to be hundreds of Pokemon trainers just about everywhere, and if they see you, they say a little one-liner before challenging you to a Pokemon battle. The lines they spout out are absolutely hilarious. Hey, I'm cool, I have a girlfriend, doodly doodly doo, and then you get sucked into battle. Things like that. It's totally ridiculous, nonsensical, but whatever. But what this means is that if you want to completely skip the whole gotta catch 'em all aspect of the game, you pretty much can. You can just face off against a couple of the trainers, because you could use the repels to ignore random encounters and level up your core team of pokes, and you'll pretty much be good to go. I really love that that aspect of the game exists, and, well, later on in the game I just wanted to level a couple of my pokes through trainers, so that's all I did. I pretty much ignored everything else, and I really liked that for such an old game you actually had that opportunity or that choice. Regardless of how you enter combat, once you do, this is where the game's deceptively simple gameplay pops up. At its core, Pokémon Yellow is a turn-based RPG. The player and the AI take turns issuing commands from fight, item, run, and changing your Pokémon. It's pretty much that simple. From the fight command, you can select up to 4 different moves your Pokémon has. As you win a battle, your used Pokémon will gain experience and levels. The more levels you gain, the more moves you unlock. That being said, each Pokémon can only have 4 moves, meaning you need to replace an old move with a new one once your Pokémon has leveled up and wants to learn a new move. And this is where probably the biggest flaw with the game comes into play. You have absolutely no way of knowing how useful the new move is in relation to the existing move you already have. Coupled with technical moves and hidden machine moves you can learn, absolutely none of the moves have descriptions telling you what they do. This means you could very easily replace a really powerful move with a crappy one just because it sounded cool. Thankfully, today, virtually every single device you keep on your person has access to the internet, so it's not really a big problem, but it's still pretty crazy to think that Nintendo actually designed the game like this. Other problems include not being able to hold very many items on you, and even the PC where you store additional items and Pokemon can only hold a finite amount of goods. It's not really that big of a deal. If you're collecting Pokemon though, it can get a bit annoying as each Pokemon box only holds 12 pokes. Meaning if you're in the middle of a crazy long cave and just collected your 12th Pokemon, you have to leave the cave, make your way all the way back to town to switch boxes. Thankfully, this was fixed later on in the series from what I've been told. Now those 2 issues notwithstanding, the rest of the gameplay is absolutely excellent. You see, what I haven't told you about is the way each Pokemon is affiliated to a certain type. Now if I'm not mistaken, and I very well could be, there are 15 different types of Pokemon in this game. Normal, fire, water, electric, grass, ice, fighting, poison, ground, flying, psychic, bug, rock, ghost, and dragon. There are different variations of these types too. For example, you could have like a fire dragon. So this is where the complexity comes into play. Each one of these types, or variations of types, is strong or weak against another type. Sure, it can appear simple. Electric is strong against water and flying, fire is strong against grass, ice, and bug, etc. But once you start seeing multiple types, one after the other, your brain feels like it's going to explode. Truly, it only takes a matter of time before you get the hang of the fundamentals. But this was the most shocking element to me, just how complex the game was. I had never imagined before something that appeared just so simple would in fact be so complex, and I absolutely love it. So while its core gameplay is simple in design, you play one Pokemon at a time, switching them out in order to ensure you always have the advantage, the fact that there are so many different variations, it really forces you to be smart about which core team you want to stick with for the duration of the game. There's a 6 Pokemon limit to your party size after all, so you can't always have every possible winning combination, but believe me, you will sure try. But this is where the mythical or legendary Pokemon come into play. Securing one of these bad boys will almost always give you a 1-up because of just how powerful they are. This also leads into the evolution system. Just about every Pokemon can evolve from one form to another. There are often different parameters for getting a Pokemon to evolve, but more often than not you just need to raise them to a certain level. However, other Pokemon require you to, say, trade them with another player, others still require a special stone, and so forth. All of this comes together in an expertly designed video game, because each element builds upon the last, and it's what makes this game so damn addicting. Exploration is rewarded because you'll often find new Pokemon that will be useful in your party. Grinding is paid off by evolving your Pokes into more powerful variations of the versions you're already using. And trading fulfills a story request on top of allowing you to evolve even more Pokes and potentially trade for some extremely powerful Pokemon. So it's just a perfect circle of charm, appeal, addiction, and fun. I never imagined how well a game made in 1999 for the original Game Boy would hold up, but surprisingly, it holds up incredibly well nearly 20 years after its North American debut. Little touches like getting access to the bicycle so you can move around quicker, or the fact that there are different Pokeballs you can use in order to increase your chances of capturing hard-to-capture Pokemon, are just fantastic. Heck, I've been speaking for quite a while now and I haven't even touched upon the collecting aspect and how it works. But you know what? I think you guys get the idea. Pokémon Yellow is well worth checking out today. It is incredibly deceptive as you think it's going to be a really simple experience and then you try and hunt down a certain Pokémon for 3 hours straight only to realize that this game has you hooked. And it's because it's anything but simple. That Pokemon you're trying to capture has just the right mix of attributes and moves that you're looking for in order to finally take down the Elite Four. That's when you know it's time to call someone, as you, my friend, have a problem.